I'm feeling like a brand new me.
Hey, welcome to theCREEK midweek. I'm your host, Josh, and I'm joined today by Jenna, who is theCREEK's discipleship director, who spoke a wonderful message on building community as a part of our Acts of the Apostles series. So let's dive right in. Jenna, thank you for a wonderful evening tonight. Great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, did you have fun?
Yeah, I like talking about it, and so I feel like that's always helpful when it's something that I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
So it was fun. Yeah, it was good.
Okay, so let's dive into that. What about tonight were you passionate about?
I just love being in community. I love finding places for people to be in community and creating those opportunities for people to be able to be in community. And so the idea of just talking about that and talking about how to break bread and how to host in your home and how to pray over people, that kind of stuff just really excites me, where it's we're talking about that connection that everybody's seeking, and then what does it look like to actually build that community for yourself.
I love it. I love it. And that's you're definitely very good at that. So that's good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Just in case somebody is watching that doesn't know who you are and what you do at the Plum Creek Church,
Yes.
why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself, your role? I mean, anybody knows, but just in case.
Just in case not everybody knows, I'm Jenna. I'm the student discipleship director here at theCREEK. So I get the opportunity to be over small groups, local and international missions, student serving opportunities, all that kind of stuff. Just what are those next steps of once you belong in Christ-centered community, believe that Jesus came down, died on the cross for your sins, rose again, you accept that into your heart, and then becoming more like Jesus is kind of where my role is at. So I get the opportunity to kind of walk along students of what is that next step now that you've made that decision to follow Jesus.
So, okay, let's jump into that, because I think it dovetails well with what you spoke about tonight. But before that, how long have you been in this role?
This role I've been in for about a year and a half.
Yeah.
Prior to that, I was a student admin here for 5 years.
Yeah.
So I've been here for a little over 6 years, serving on the Creek team. And prior to that, I was a small group leader for a year here.
So you're a veteran. This is not your first rodeo. This is not
First rodeo. No, I've been around for a little bit. I have senior girls right now, and so I graduated in class 4 years ago. Started freshman year with them. They graduated, and then your sweet daughter is in my small group now, and I started with them when they were freshmen. And they're getting ready to graduate, which is so awesome and so sad. I'm going to miss them so much.
We're having a lot of conversations around that in our house right now about, the change and she's getting ready to graduate. And so we've, Lexi is her name, but she has these friends and senior friends here in the youth group, and they're all doing this. This is our last, whatever it is. This is our last last semester day, and last time will this, last time will that. There's a lot of that talk going on. So, but you've done a brilliant job, and I know that she, cares about you deeply. And that speaks to what you spoke about tonight. You're living out, and I want to draw attention to the fact that you said you love having people in your home. Mm-hmm. You love cooking for them. You do something weekly. What is that?
I do this thing called Movie Monday, where we've kind of intentionally picked kind of this group of students and some residents and stuff to just kind of pour into and find a place where we can create community and they could find their people and kind of model for them hey, this is what it looks like to create this community. And so Taylor and I, my husband, our hope is hey, when you guys move on one day, this is what you can do. You can model this. You can have it in your house. You don't have to have a mansion. We don't have a mansion, but we still intentionally invite these people in to just do life with us. They come when my house is still dirty half the time and I'm cleaning or I'm cooking or I'm doing whatever, but we want to invite them into that to be this is also what community looks like. It doesn't just look like having a meal on the table when people get here and your house is spick and span. It's just doing the everyday life together, finding opportunities to be together, to eat together, to talk about Jesus. Sometimes we do these cards. Practicing the Way has these conversation cards.
Yes.
And they're really awesome. And so sometimes we'll pull one of those. They have, I think it's starter questions, and they have go deeper questions. So we'll pull some of those, and it's so fun to get to hear the students' answers to some of them. Some of them are fun. Like, it's like, if you could live in any, I don't know, realm, what would you want to live in? Some people be like, oh, I wish I lived in like the Spider-Verse, or I want to like be in Lord of the Rings or something.
Yeah.
But then some of the questions are a lot deeper. Or maybe it's like, hey, what do you feel like God is like growing in you right now? Or what do you feel like is something you need to work on that goes against maybe the grain of what you think your personality is? And so just finding opportunities for them to do that kind of thing, to share that, to fellowship with each other.
I've heard quite a bit that there's also these 3 questions you ask: your highs for the week, your lows for the week, and it's something really unique or special that happened.
Our buffaloes.
The buffaloes.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Do you think that just asking good questions, simple, consistent, practical questions, whether it be from those conversation starters, because I have seen those are phenomenal,
Yeah.
or just like regular conversations around the high-low buffaloes. The reason that I ask is that's even come up like around our table in our home.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, let's do high-low buffaloes. And so all of a sudden that conversation that you're generating there is sort of spreading its wings and going out into families all over Castle Rock. But do you find that just being able to ask, particularly a student, a good question, that you're demonstrating, what are you communicating? What are you demonstrating for them when it comes to community? What are you doing in your practical walk that is opening these students up so that they're engaging in community with you?
Yeah. I feel like honestly that like consistency piece that you just talked about, like that consistency of like we ask the same question, and we do it at our dinner table when no one's there too. Like my daughter and Taylor, my husband, they always race to say who could say it first. So we'll go, so, and they'll go, what was the best part of everyone's day? Because they know like that's going to lead to the conversation of like the high, the low, and the buffalo.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, what is the awesome thing that happened? What is maybe like the prayer request, that low? And then what is something weird or random that happened? But I feel like that consistency piece, we've seen a lot of beauty in that too, because students come in and they'll be like, they know it's coming. So they've already been thinking about it and they're like eager to share. Like they get to the table and they're like, guys, I can't wait to tell you my buffalo of what happened today. Or like, oh, let me start because like I have this really great high. Or some people are like, yeah, like here's my high and my buffalo, but then this is kind of the thing that I've been thinking about sharing with all of you guys, this like low part of my day, like what it looked like and what I need prayer for. And so that consistency piece I think is huge. And then just the opportunity to be willing to listen. Like that is a big piece, I think, in like asking good follow-up questions of like, what do you mean by that? Like, tell me more about that. Like how, like who was with you when that happened? How did you feel? Like just those kind of things, or even just hearing something and then following up with them later has also made a huge impact. Like I know kids have said things at our table that were like, okay, yeah, we'll definitely like we want to be praying about that, and then being able to recall it later on, like the next movie Monday, be like, hey, how did that thing go? Like we have this board in our mudroom that has like in like 2 columns. It's like prayer requests and like answered prayers, and we have like sticky notes on it. And
Interesting.
we don't do it super often at Movie Monday.
Yeah.
We'll do it like as a family, but when we have done it, it's been really cool that like people will write down their prayer requests. They'll be like, this is what I need prayer for. And then we are able to follow up with them.
Yeah.
And we pray for it as we're like walking out the door of our home. And then we can move the sticky notes over. And it's a really cool representation to be able to be like, dang, like we prayed for that. And then look at all of these things that are on the other column now. Like look at all the answered prayers that we've seen. And so just that like consistency and showing up and finding opportunities to follow up with them.
Yeah.
And ways to remember it. Because when there's, when you're talking to 10, 15, 20 students, trying to come up with some good systems of like, I want to remember what you just said. Because I think it's really important to follow up.
Yeah.
And be like, tell me how that test went. How did your tryouts go?
Yeah.
Because that means a lot.
Well, so when you're building community and you're doing everything that you're describing, it sounds like there's a couple things. Number one, like you said, consistency, but then just keep it simple, right? And then that, so because it sounds like the students will bookmark their experiences throughout the week. They'll go through and say, oh, I've got to remember that because I know I'm going to get asked about it. I'm excited to tell this story, or I'm excited to share this, whatever it is. And so keeping it simple. You said the word system in there. So just having, even if it's as simple as like prayer request result, prayer request answered, and then just moving it over. So it doesn't have to be complex. That's super interesting because I think a lot of people feel like when we use big words and relationships are complex and social media and all these things, it's like, no, no, no. It's really, really easy. Ask good questions, do it consistently so people can prepare, predict, and bookmark their week.
Yeah.
What have you seen as results in the development of students and their spiritual lives and as these communities have sort of unfolded for you?
Yeah. I feel like honestly a big piece of it is just like confidence in these students. Like I'm gonna call Lexi and Avery, your daughter and her best friend. Like they've had a ton of people that have poured into them and helped shape them into where they are. And I've seen them like at like Movie Monday when they've come to my house. And in the beginning, maybe they were a little bit more shy, a little bit more reserved. And the more community that they felt around them, the more security they felt of like, oh, I belong. Like these are my people. Like these people want me here. I'm like an integral part of this that we have going on. Like I've seen them grow in their leadership and step out in their faith to be like, I'm going to share a little bit more often. I'm going to talk more in group because I know the thing I have to say is valuable because this group of people told me so. Like this group of people told me like how wise I am or like that they value what I have to say. And then that translates into other areas of their life. Like we've seen that development. And even just in small groups, like my husband's small group, he's with the freshman boys this year. And we've kind of been like, hey, like, let's start bringing in some of those freshman guys that you're really trying to pour into. And it's gotten a little bit louder and a little bit wilder at our house from that, but we've seen already the fruit of that like carry over into their small groups, like how much more willing to share they are when they've had shared experiences together, when they're playing laser tag with each other outside in the freezing cold. Then they come into small group and they're like, oh, remember that thing? And like, I want to talk about this fun thing with you. And also, I know you're a safe person for me to come and share with.
Yeah.
And so we've just seen like them grow tremendously in their confidence with each other and then their value that they bring into groups that they help lead.
So their confidence is built and it grows when they're able to be vulnerable
Mm-hmm.
and then in a very safe way, say maybe something that they're being troubled by or something that they're struggling with or a
Yeah.
problem that they're having and they want it approached or talked about or dealt with in a Jesus way. So they come to small group, they come to the Jesus community, they share that, it turns out to be safe. And then you couple that with outside experiences of fun and they're like, okay, so this is a normal person that I can have fun with and I can trust them. When you have that safety and security, it's building confidence inside of them to where they develop. And yes, I wholeheartedly agree that there's a lot of, you know, a lot of really good things that are baked into these kids. And sometimes they just need to feel like these are my people and I can let this out.
Yeah.
How have you grown? Cause you talked, and by the way, you right in the middle of your message, you're talking about enchiladas and ziti and all these like amazing dishes. And I'm like, I'm so hungry. But how have you seen your life then? I mean, so you're creating this environment, but you're watching this thing happen. You've been doing it for all these years. How has your life changed with being a community builder? How has that impacted your own life?
Yeah. I think one, it's taught us a lot of kind of like what I was talking about in that beginning part where like we don't have to have the perfect place to be able to host community. I think for a long time that's what held me back from like having people in our home or whatever. Was like, oh, it needs to be a certain way, it needs to be a certain thing. And so it's kind of given me a new appreciation for that of just truly living life together. Like we're not entertaining. I'm not entertaining people while they're there, but we are just doing life together. And I feel like that has carried over into all of my relationships where now I look at the people that I'm in small group with, because like I have my own small group that I go to on Tuesday nights. And like I look at that as an opportunity of like, we're not here to like entertain. We're just here to be in community together. Like we really are just doing life together. We are eating meals together. We are fellowshipping. We're praying like with and for one another. Like that I think has made a huge impact. Like learning from what we've done at Movie Monday and learning from all the students and the residents that come through, like just being like, sometimes you just need kind of a safe space to land before you're able to kind of move on to that next thing, to like get that confidence to go to your next, onto your next thing. And so like looking at the life of the students, like for Taylor and I, that's, like we needed that confidence to kind of step into new groups and new couples that like we want to be in community with. But for students, like their phases of life, you're changing so fast. Like these seniors, they're going to be moving on to college and like what are they taking away? Like how is what they've learned here going to then like transfer over to how they build community outside of the creek, outside of this people here? Like if they go to another state or even like the freshmen, like how is this going to carry over? How are they going to be able to like cultivate and build this on their own? They don't need their own house to do it. They don't need to make ziti and enchiladas for everybody, right? But they can like find their own way to invite people and
Yeah.
build that community.
Yeah, and I liked your challenges that you went into there because you made it extremely accessible for our students tonight. Where it's like, hey, if you don't have, if you don't have a job where you have the ability to maybe resource and buy someone French fries, I think was the example. But you can just give it your time. Just inviting someone, be like, hey, you're alone, or you look isolated or separate. Why don't you come belong? Like that's all that Jesus is asking us to do until you're resourced, until you have that job, or until you have that home, or until you have that table, or that ziti recipe, which I'm going to bring up about 90 times because it sounded delicious.
I'll give it to you.
Oh, perfect. One of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which is a book written by Stephen Covey, talks about first seek to understand and then be understood. And so in these communities, it seems like you've established this culture of, hey, let me understand you first. Let me make sure that and then you can hear what I'm having to say. So let me hear you out. Let me ask you some good questions. Understand where you are. Remember what your prayer request is. Do all these things. And that way, when I tell you that Jesus is the answer, you'll listen because you really feel understood. What is something else, and maybe even expound on that, but like, what is something that you see from the building trust with these students through community? How have you seen that grow?
I think what you were just talking about, like something we talk about a lot here, right, is like, especially with students, like you have to earn the right to be heard by them. Like they want to know that you care, and because that is what's going to translate over time. Once they know, like, man, they care about me so much and they're so for me, like now I want to listen to what they have to say. But that part about building trust, like it does take a lot and it takes time. Like sometimes,
especially with students,
because like there's so many adults in their life telling them what to do, like do this, do this, do this. And it's like there's teachers and there's parents and there's all of these people. And so when there's one more person that steps into their life that's like, here's the answer, or if we make it seem so easy, like that's something that I feel like we hear a lot is like, you make it sound so easy, but it's not. Like once they know you can relate to them a little bit more of like, hey, like this is like, I've been there. And I think like sharing our own vulnerability is a way that I've learned to build trust. I think sometimes as a leader or as an adult or as a parent, it seems like I need to have this figured out and then I'll tell them how to do it. But I think there's a lot of beauty in being vulnerable with like right where you're at. Like I think sometimes we're like, let me get past that piece. Like let me get past the anxiety and then I'll be ready to talk about it with like these students and tell them how I did it. But I found a lot of beauty in being like, here's currently what I'm struggling with. Like it does terrify me to like get on stage, or it does terrify me to walk into a group of people that I don't know. Like you should see the amount of times I'm in my car in tears, scared at like doing the thing that I'm asking you to do. But I'm doing it because I know the value of what's going to come after. And so that goes a long way building trust. Once you could be like, here's the vulnerability in my life. Like I want you to see that because it's okay. Like it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to have hard times and then to come through that. And let's talk about how to overcome that.
So tonight in the small group, one of our students said something really impactful to me. He said that when he started coming to church, which wasn't too long ago, he walked into a youth group and he saw these students jumping. And he goes, at first, I thought it was so cheesy. because he's like, everything seemed, we'll call it perfect. Everything was just this one way. He goes, but there was something about it. So I kept coming back. And then he realized, he goes, that they weren't jumping to be showy. They were jumping because it was a true expression of their faith. And so he engaged in the process.
Yeah.
And then now he's like, there's a lot of freedom in being able to praise Jesus and jump.
Yeah.
And it hit me so much because it's like, we can create these environments, giving students, whether it be in our homes, at our tables, at our lunch tables, in the church, wherever it is. That's kind of my point, is I want to make sure we can carry this to where we can create these environments where the students start to feel safe, and like you can express your faith in a number of different ways. And then once they build up and they engage with their faith, they engage with those experiences, then they can be like, wow, this thing with Jesus really is cool. So it's really neat that you're talking about, in these communities, these students begin to bind themselves to one another, bind themselves to you and that's, we talked about last semester, the series Dust, Becoming Disciple Makers. Community is what discipleship is. Community is, hey, here's ziti and enchiladas, and
Yeah.
but really more, it's so that creating an environment for them to be okay to ask tough questions, to be vulnerable. So it sounds like keeping things simple, asking good questions, doing a lot of listening, creating an environment of just listening and being there and engaging, but then the follow-up and that remembering and following up with prayer and giving the other person helping them understand that you were listening and you want to know what that result is, and then tracking those results on your board. I mean, these are super simple things that you're doing as a part of the community building, and that definitely came across tonight as you spoke. Before we leave you, one last question. What has been, and by the way, this was second Sunday, so I'm dressed like Steve Irwin. That's part of that fun environment that we create, right? What would be, as the discipleship director, what would be in an answer, in just a couple of sentences, that your goal would be for the students when it comes to community? You just spoke this message. You've been engaged in it in real time, real life. What would be something, if you had to boil it down, just your heart's desire for these students when it comes to community?
I feel like I just want them to have a place where they feel safe to just fellowship together. Like, I think a lot of what we talked about, like fellowshipping, like coming together with a common goal, I think is hard for a lot of students, because like, I have a lot of friends that maybe they aren't believers, or maybe they are believers, but we don't really talk about Jesus. That gets kind of weird. And so my heart would be that just for them to be bold and lead off with like one thing, like we talked about, like just when your friend is talking about their really bad day, or that their parents might be going through a divorce, or like they have a terrible test coming up that they're sure they're going to fail and it's going to affect their graduation, their GPA, and all these things. Just take that moment, instead of being like, oh, I'll pray for you, or like, man, I hope that gets better. Be like, can I just pray for you right now? Because it just takes one person. Like, it just takes that one person to cultivate that type of community. And so I just want them to have a place where they can come together and feel safe to share their burdens, to share their successes with each other, and then to pray over one another and build each other up in that way. Because that will continue on, and that is going to build lifelong friendships. When you have something like that, you have something to call back to. That way, when you're married in 10, 15 years or however long, you have people that you can text and be like, hey, I just need prayer. Like, I need you to pray for this thing, or I'm upset about this and I need somebody who I know is going to give me godly advice. And that starts right now for them, like building those relationships right now.
That's amazing. That's so cool. And that's so true. And what I really feel like is, if we do what you just said, if we're intentional, I mean, everybody's wondering how we get rid of the epidemic of social media and the isolation and people feeling lonely. And I think you just crushed it. It's just, when you have that moment, when you're sitting across the table from somebody and they say something and you go, they said that on purpose, or maybe they didn't tell me everything, but hey, do you mind if I pray with you. Just engage in relationship and community in the moment. I think a lot of the things that we hope would happen in Christianity would come true.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I agree.
Hey, great job, Jenna. Thank you so much for bringing this word. And I know you even said in your message, I know you don't necessarily enjoy the process, but I want to tell you, you did a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very kind. It's all Jesus.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Talk to you next time.
Thanks. Bye.
Well, that's it for us at the Creek midweek. We hope to see you again here next time. But before we go, a blessing. May the Lord be with you as you go into your different environments throughout the week, where you are showing the love of Jesus to those around you through generosity and the giving of your time and your resources, loving one another until it is in Castle Rock as it is in heaven. We love you and we'll see you soon.